Hey, this is Nathaniel J., and we're back here with Malcolm Turner. Now, if you missed the first part, this is the second part, and this is where we're going to really jump into growth development and the growth development strategies that's coming out of NBA with NBA D-League. And Malcolm Turner, with his veracity of knowledge, that he was giving us earlier from what he was doing from PGA all the way up to sports marketing and working with various different individuals from different entities to now leading at NBA. So, Malcolm, let us know what is the growth strategy and how NBA is utilizing its minor league to grow, as you said, for 30 for 30.
Yes, so exactly. That's our number one priority, 30 for 30. And so we're at a record 22 teams currently. We're in active conversations with other NBA teams who are not currently into the league. We've already announced Atlanta will be joining the league, and earlier this week announced that Memphis will be joining the league as well. And so we're starting to, with those 23 and 24 teams, we're starting to really get within shouting distance of our goal of 30 for 30. But really, the approach and kind of what's driving the growth, first and foremost, is basketball development. NBA coaches and NBA GMs have really recognized that the NBA Development League is an effective and efficient place to develop talent. And, with the record levels of D-League experience that we're seeing at the NBA level, we're really excited to continue to build on that as we welcome more and more NBA teams into the league. And so it's an exciting time for us as we quickly approach 30 teams, each of our D-League teams affiliated with an NBA team.
Okay. Now, when we're talking about affiliated, now, is it just a small percentage of ownership of affiliation, or is it pretty much a total percent ownership by the primary branded franchise like a Warriors or a Lakers or a Bulls or a Heat or even a 76ers?
It's a great point. So, first of all, as it relates to affiliation, there are a couple things in play here. Each of our D-League teams is directly affiliated with an NBA parent team. So each of our 22 teams this season, each of those teams has a direct affiliation with an NBA parent team. In addition to that, we have seen a great transition take place in terms of actual ownership of our D-League teams. 2 years ago, roughly 30% of our teams were owned by the affiliated NBA parent team. By the end of last season, that number grew to just over 50%, and today we stand at 80% of our D-League teams owned by the affiliated NBA parent team. And so NBA owners have recognized the value that we're creating, with their NBA coaches and GMs from a talent development standpoint, and they've really started to buy in as owners of D-League teams. So NBA owners now, by and large, are also NBA D-League team owners, and so it's an exciting development for us.
Okay. Now, jumping into a little business before I ask, my fandom question is, why are teams now switching to moving from minor league names to actually moving to names that are associated with the parent company or the parent franchise, rather say that, with Santa Cruz Warriors, and now you have the Defenders who are owned by the Lakers are now called the South Bay Lakers. What is this? Why is this shift? Is this more of, for branding? Is it for more inclusion? Why is that?
It's a great question. Roughly a third of the league and growing has done exactly what you just mentioned, the D-League team taking on the same brand identity as the parent team. I think there are a few reasons. One, again, we're fully one-to-one affiliated for the first time. Over the past 24 months, we've seen a really great transition in terms of NBA owners, by and large, becoming D-League team owners. But it's an extension of the brand. It's an extension of the business. And it's really our NBA teams are taking a more and more holistic approach to development and the role that these D-League teams play within their NBA business. And so player development, for example, from the beginning has been our focus. But now what you're seeing is NBA teams, yes, they're focused on player development, but now they're also using their D-League team to develop coaches within their system, to develop trainers, to develop sales staff, to develop basketball operations staffs and aspiring GMs using the D-League as a development platform. If you want to work in this game at the highest level with the NBA, that's in part what the D-League business stands for. It's an entry point, whether you're a referee, a player, a coach, a trainer. There are any number of opportunities at the D-League level, and that represents an opportunity for development. And so with the NBA teams taking on the same name, it's reflective of a more holistic approach where the D-League is becoming this strategic asset that's creating value throughout the NBA system, and that's how our NBA teams are starting to perceive and actually use the D-League team, and thus you're seeing more and more D-League teams take on that same identity as the NBA parent as an extension, a meaningful, substantive extension of the NBA team business.
Now, I know that this is generally what they call in the industry a call-up. So essentially, if you work for the D-League side of the house and you get called up to, either NBA, or can someone actually get called up from D-League to WNBA if they wanted to? Is it an actual, organization where you can get called up to any area that you would like to go to?
Yeah, so obviously from a player standpoint, the call-up would be confined to the NBA. But
of course, for male players, of course.
Absolutely.
I'm saying for front office people.
Your point's well taken, because call-ups absolutely do happen on the W side as well, particularly on the business side, but I think probably the more prominent side is actually within our officiating crews. So, we are a training ground for officials, referees, both for the NBA and the WNBA. And so you could take a look at, the roster of both WNBA and NBA officials, and you will see a growing D-League alumni network, if you will. Call-ups, it's a great point that call-ups happen throughout our business. And, yes, obviously the call-ups are confined to the NBA from a player standpoint, but beyond that, the WNBA plays a role in that as well, whether you're in basketball operations, whether you're in officiating, a trainer, salesperson. So you're absolutely right. Call-ups apply both across the W and the NBA within our business.
So basically, for me, it sounds like the D-League in itself is pretty much a wide-scale apprentice program that allows for individuals to be groomed for their next level of greatness in the organization. I mean, that's amazing. To where if you can't directly go into NBA, you can get your feet wet and learn more about the business and be able to grow into the various different areas, or just stay at D-League if you'd like to.
You're absolutely right. And as I mentioned, there is a growing D-League alumni network, both at the NBA level and WNBA, and that's really reflective of what you just mentioned. There are a range of opportunities to enter and grow and develop within the basketball business, and certainly as the D-League continues to grow, there are very attractive opportunities within the D-League for the long term, on its own merits. But there are also opportunities to grow beyond the D-League for those who wish to work for an NBA team or work for a WNBA team as well. The D-League, we're a league of opportunity, and so the D-League, yes, can serve as a launch pad for those who are interested in working within the sport in other capacities, whether that be with the WNBA or the NBA, but certainly within the D-League in its own right. We're growth property, and so there are exciting opportunities as we continue to find our way as we grow up as a league and approach 30 for 30. It's an exciting time to be associated and part of the league.
Now, talking about small businesses, and the small businesses being the heart, of America in various different areas, especially in Tier 1 markets, but more so in Tier 2 markets, because they are the fabric of the community. Now, when you look at two of the teams that you have now, one is the Iowa Energy, which they're called now, that's owned by the Grizzlies. Then you have the Erie Bayhawks that's owned by the Magic. From what I understand, these teams are shifting and changing their names to be a part of the parent company. Just recently, it was announced that the Iowa Energy is actually moving closer to the Grizzlies over in Memphis. What will that move do for the small business community, in your opinion, now that this new part of the NBA is there in that area?
And just a couple quick clarifications. You're absolutely right. Orlando is relocating their team from Erie to Lakeland, to Central Florida. The Iowa Energy, earlier this week, Memphis announced that they're launching a new expansion team in South Haven, Mississippi, in the greater Memphis area. The Iowa Energy will remain in Des Moines. Simultaneous with the announcement of Memphis launching their expansion team, Minnesota, the Minnesota Timberwolves, announced their intent to purchase the Iowa Energy. And so all of that to say, at the conclusion of this season, Memphis Grizzlies will launch an entirely new team in South Haven, Mississippi, in the greater Memphis area. Meanwhile, the Iowa Energy will no longer be affiliated with the Memphis Grizzlies, as the Minnesota Timberwolves are now on schedule to acquire that business. So just a quick point of clarification. However,
that almost sounds like a player swap almost.
Yeah,
sounds
exactly.
like a player swap.
No question. But to your point on the business side, we're very focused on launching successful businesses with all of our teams. And so, yes, Memphis will be launching its own expansion team, and we're very focused on making sure that business in its own right launches successfully and is in a good place with good footing for the long term. Memphis is also looking to use that new business of theirs to extend its business relationships with the greater Memphis Mid-South business community. And so they will be looking to strike new business partnerships that perhaps will also support the Memphis Grizzlies, but also new relationships that can help underpin their as-yet-to-be-named new D-League team that will launch in South Haven. And so we're very focused on the new business in South Haven in its own right being a successful launch as a business, but the Memphis Grizzlies will be employing their resources and their staff to extend relationships from the Memphis Grizzlies to that business, but also identifying new partners and engaging in the small business community in terms of the role that this D-League team can play to help on some of their business development goals in that market and client entertainment needs and things of that nature. So that's very important. Both we at the league level and the Memphis Grizzlies, or any of our NBA teams who are launching who already have a D-League team, very focused on the small business community as well to grow relationships. And, these D-League teams ultimately are assets within the community, and relationships matter. We're all in the relationship business. And so business development, but more importantly, growing relationships, growing partnerships, developing meaningful connections with the community. Ultimately, those are the things that will drive long-term success for these businesses and our D-League teams.
Wow. I mean, this sounds like totally amazing. And I know with the community embracement that NBA has, their community program called NBA Cares, how does that flow over to D-League, and does D-League players participate in an NBA Cares version with D-League?
Absolutely. We are, the NBA enterprise is inclusive of the NBA and its teams, the WNBA and its teams, and the NBA Development League and our teams. And so we're all under the same umbrella, NBA Cares, and giving back and being part of the community, frankly, has been part of the NBA's DNA, and our owners and our players is something that we care deeply about. And so NBA Cares is an initiative that encompasses not only the NBA business, but the WNBA and the NBA Development League as well. And it goes back to our earlier point about the NBA Development League teams, by and large now, are direct extensions of the NBA team. And so NBA team initiatives, you now, quite frankly, more often than not, will see an extension of those very same initiatives with the D-League team because, again, we're now part of the same enterprise. Most of our D-League teams, all of our D-League teams are affiliated with an NBA team and, by and large, are owned by the same NBA owner.
Okay. Now, one last thing, have to appease my techie mind. What is NBA D-League doing with technology? How are you guys engaging the fan, the user, in a mobile or streaming way? What is potentially on the rise for that?
Yeah, I would say broadly we employ technology in a number of different ways. Some ways you see it, other ways you don't. Some of the ways
you never see the technology most of the time. You just people just walk up and touch it, and They just want it to work.
No question. So in some cases, there's technology that we test with our referees, for example, that a typical fan would never notice and never see, but technology that can enhance referee communication in-game during the action, that's an example of technology that we've tested that most fans wouldn't be able to see and relate and even know what's going on, but it's something that we test. Another way with technology is that's more consumer-facing, the distribution of our games through the Facebook Live platform. It's a new relationship that we launched this year, and we're really excited about it, and the feedback from our fan base has been really strong, and so we're excited about continuing to grow our relationship with Facebook and Facebook Live in that respect. Another way is testing new television production technologies. Is there a new way to produce a game for viewers? That's an active conversation that we're having, and we're testing a range of technologies in terms of, is there a different way to actually produce a game and deliver that to fans? And so there are some emerging technologies that we've been testing, and we'll continue to do that. That's part of what we stand for. We're R&D within the NBA. We're a test bed, and so there's technologies that are very consumer-facing, such as Facebook Live, that gives opportunities for fans to interact with our business. But there's other embedded technology that you may not see it or know it's there, but ultimately it's geared to how do we make a great game better and ultimately deliver a stronger, better product on the floor in a way that's also engaging for our fans.
Wow. I mean, I'm crossing my fingers to maybe see some AR, some augmented reality, or some virtual reality, or, virtual reality 360 from you guys coming out soon. I mean, to me, being a techie, it almost sounds like NBA D-League is a very successful startup in so many words. It really sounds like a very, very successful startup. So let us know where we can actually find you and follow you at on, the great wide internet that we call social media.
The best way is we have our own NBA D-League app that's available in the App Store, which is a great hub and home for our league with all types of team, league, player information. Our games are available on Facebook Live. We're also part of ESPN, and we'll have up to 21 games televised within ESPN's family of networks. And lastly, we also are covered by NBA TV as well with the Game of the Week on Sundays. So there are all manner of ways to find us, and obviously through our affiliated NBA team web pages as well. But it's an exciting time. We're looking forward to growing with our fans, more to come, and appreciate the time here.
No problem. Well, make sure you guys go on dleague.nba.com. That's D like David, the word league.nba.com. I'm Nathaniel J. That's Malcolm Turner. We'll see you again soon.